Well, Season 6 is upon us, and it's been a very interesting summer transfer window at Distillery. We've managed to get in some big improvements to some of the spine of our team, but in other areas, I've been left a little bit frustrated. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 46 and the start of season 6 from this FM23 Build a Nation save, Lifting Spirits from Distillery with me, Daniel. We are back today to start our second season in the top flight, but will it be second season syndrome? Will it be a case of glory and going one step further than last year? And can we break into that top half? Or will we be down in the bottom two? They're all the things we're going to find out over the coming season. But first, we've got a transfer special. And we've not been handed a particularly easy start to the season. We faced Linfield, but there may be a positive to that, which we'll talk about in a minute. For now, though, you can probably see some new names on the screen. So if you're looking forward to meeting all the new faces, do chuck a thumbs up on it. And we're going to head straight over to the transfer centre, because it's been a mixed bag this summer. I think that's how I'd describe it. And we start with the released players at the end of last season, which doesn't see the sea of first class names like we normally have. Just the one that we've got to say a good thank you to. And it wasn't someone who featured a lot last year, but Connor Mitchell was a bit of a game changer for us. He came in at a point where we were probably struggling a little bit. He gained us a promotion from the third tier. He then was crucial to keeping us in and taking us up from the second tier. And although he got replaced pretty early on last season, he did get to play at the top level for us. So all the best for the future. I'm not sure you're good enough to get another top club though. But let's go and focus on the other deals of the summer, all the ones that left or joined the club of our own accord. We've missed out on a number of targets. We've improved some of the positions we wanted to, but I wouldn't say I'm entirely satisfied with the summer. And one of the outs might explain why. And we start, of course, with the end of last season, which included a spate of loans out from the youth teams, notable names like Mark Gallagher, Andrew Miller, Leo McNichol, Colin Robinson, Marty Bell, all featured in the first team before, but they were joined on the 25th of June by Matthew Buchanan, who went to Coleraine, a side that qualified for Europe, of course, a side that are professional, of course, and he has gone for £12,000 plus a 30% sell-on clause. I couldn't get any more, but he's someone who I'm interested to see how he does with professional development. I don't fancy him to feature much for them, but he's going to be training full-time and it should make the difference. He's done really well for us when he's played, but he's not quite had that development off the pitch. So I'm going to keep an eye on him. We'll see how he goes. If someone then wants to take him for 140 grand, we'll get another 40 odd out of that. So that would be lovely. But he was the last transfer to go out at the end of last season. And as you can see from behind my head here, we did have one in, but we'll come back to that in a moment. Let's firstly reflect on the rest of the outs, because other than David McCabe, who was the last one to leave a couple of weeks ago, he was on a pay-as-you-play anyway. He was our backup right back. Glenarvan took him. I don't blame him for going. But aside from him, it's all been loan players or frees again. So what that means is the ins have been more important than ever. Now, you'll remember at the end of last season, we needed to replace a couple of loan players, Chris Johnston, Michael Hatton, and we needed to improve the spine of the team. We were looking for a centre-half, a centre-mid, and a centre-forward. Did we manage to get them? Well, not with the first signing, because that is our replacement for the man above him. Chris Johnston left his loan from Glentoran, didn't really earn his money the second time back. But Lewis Scott, he might well be a very good solution, because he's the man you may remember I tried to sign before Chris Johnston on loan. He rejected us to go on loan to Warren Point. He didn't do that well there. He got released by Rangers at the end of the season, and we've now bought him in for free. Now, I'd argue he's just as good as Johnston. He's got a little way to go. He's 18 years of age. He's on less money than Johnston was, in 170 quid a week, and he's got a 3-year deal and he's training well. He's not got the best personality, but he's fairly determined. He's electric physically, which means he's always going to be a threat at this level. And you can see his final product in terms of pass, cross or dribble are all pretty good. I think he's going to be a very good winger in this league. I'll wait and see if I'm proven right or not. But as someone who is a specialist in that attacking midfield left role, I feel we might have a little superstar. So we'll wait and see if he delivers in time. But I've got a feeling, a really good feeling about him. The second one takes us into early July, and it's the first of two players who were spotted from the Welsh League. One of them we never got to sign, which was a right back, but this guy Sean Daniels was the more important one. The reason for that? Well, because he comes in from Connors Quay and he's a centre midfielder. We talked about it in the comments last time out about Aaron Jarvis, who we have offered a new contract to, but he was never going to be our first choice this year. It was about having a big squad for the fixture congestion. It was about having talent and bundles of experience. But at the other end of that, you need raw quality, and this guy has it in abundance. I'm not a big fan of the fact he dives into tackles. We're trying to sort that out. Of course, like so many players, we had to agree to the training facilities improvement. Who knows, if we get to Europe this year, maybe we can actually follow through with it. But look at him as a playmaker. 14 in the pass, his first touch is great. In fact, technically, he's a very good player. Good vision, good stamina. He's got an awful lot to give. He's not got a terrible personality. At 20 years of age, he's got 100 games under his belt at senior level. He is a player I can really get behind, and I think he's going to be a bit of a gem for us. 2.5-year contract on 250 quid a week is one of, if not our highest paid player, but he's going to be worth it. I have no doubt in that. Sean Daniels is a superstar. That was when I got excited, because I was really struggling to find those players in the spine of the team, and while we were still having troubles with a centre-half and a centre-forward, once we got him, I thought, right, at least in one position, we've had a big improvement this year. Followed a few days later by a partner in centre midfield, and I was in dreamland, because I said, even if nothing else happens this window now, we have got a proper midfield duo. Archie Whitehall is basically the next year's Ethan Ross. He's come in from England, which we hadn't been doing as much. And you can see straight away, this boy is fantastic. He's a centre mid who can play number 10, then became our highest paid player of the club just 3 days after Daniels had done that. 4-star ability, 5-star potential, 21 years of age, physically imposing, 6 foot, naturally fit, good in the jump. Again, technically very good in the key areas. He's someone who could fill in that playmaker role no problem, and he's also a proper box-to-box star. There's a few little areas we can work on, but overall, I am so pleased with him. Again, training all right, balanced personality is fine by me, and I just feel like these guys are going to be gems. Played 1 game for Nottingham Forest before getting released, and if we can this year, with these sorts of signings, if we can break into Europe, even if it's 1 qualifying round, try and turn professional, try and upgrade facilities, these guys will then improve massively. If not, at the very least, we've now got players, as you can see, worth 60, 70 grand. If we can get that fee plus a sell on, this is how the club starts to improve. It's frustrating in a builder nation because you lose your best youngsters a lot, but if we can get good money and if we can get future fees as well, we are really setting ourselves up for the long term. So Archie Whitehall and Sean Daniels, a midfield duo I am really looking forward to seeing. I cannot wait for it. I'm a bit worried they're both aggressive, but they're huge upgrades. Jarvis, okay. Levingston, solid. Crow, a decent player. These two, absolute gems. Let's move on to the other two though, because we did eventually manage to get a defender and a striker. The striker, of course, is a familiar name, and he's our only paid transfer of the summer. But let's start with the defender, who, I'm not going to lie to you, was probably 3rd, 4th or 5th choice for the role. The rest of them either wanted too much money, didn't want to join us at the time, or went to other clubs. I've still got a couple that we had on trial earlier in the year. They're shortlisted in case they reduce their terms. We have had it in previous seasons, haven't we, with the likes of Sienna Foster, who wanted 200, 300 quid a week, and 3 months later didn't have a club, came for 60. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So only one of the 2 centre-halves I really wanted, but Ben Williams is a very good one. Physically, really good. 6'2", good in the air. He's got quality defensively. He's got pace. He's strong. He's got the lot. I'm really pleased. However, there is a little doubt on positioning, which you know is my favourite defensive attribute, and he is probably more of a right back than a centre-half, albeit a fairly defensive one. Not sure why he can play the number 10 role, but we'll leave that for now. I'm not sure he's going to be doing it. I'm again a little bit concerned that he likes to dive into tackles and he's quite aggressive. It's something we've got a lot of this year for some reason. Likes to get forward, which again doesn't really suit us, but overall he's a good player. And again, 4-star ability, 5-star potential. We are talking people that are huge upgrades from what we've got. And we haven't really looked at some of the profiles for a while, so let me just give you a little bit of a comparison here. Ben Williams with, let's go and pick our best centre-half, which is probably either Orkin or McDowell. I'll pick Kofi Orkin out. And look at the wheel. I mean, bar mentally, he is so much better everywhere. Better defensively, better physically, better technically, better going forward, so much quicker. And the attributes, they're a very different style. I know that Orkin is massive, he's great in the air, but he's a lot slower. He's not better at anything technically. These are massive upgrades of centre-halves, and these are positions where we were average last year. And these three players that we've brought in, they are the spine of our team for the next 3 or 4 years. There's no way we're getting big upgrades on them. And to get them in for the wages we have, albeit slightly more than we've been paying, I'm thrilled. I am really thrilled. And in the final one, again, we were a little bit frustrated in this position. We got turned down for Cliftonville, I think, by the striker I really wanted. Let me go and show you him, because he was released from Linfield, Chris McKee, and I wanted to sign him. He had the finishing, he had the pace, he had the composure, he had a great personality, he had a good record for Linfield and for the under-21s in Northern Ireland, but 450 quid, we couldn't match it. Cliftonville were the club he went to. I don't blame him for that, but what we did instead is we signed a pre-agreement with Jonathan McElhatton. Linfield then said, well, you can have him now for $2,500. We took him. We needed a backup striker. He is rated slightly better than Leon Boyd. He's slightly more rounded in that advanced position. Whether we play him as an advanced forward or a poacher, I'm not sure yet. I might try both and see how they work out. But he is someone who did well for us last year, scored some big goals off the bench. Yes, had his troubles with injury, but for 230 quid a week, as a good young striker at the club with a decent personality, I think we've got someone for the future. And again, there was nothing better available and we had to get a player. So a familiar one probably just makes it a bit easier to settle in. So not the complete summer we were hoping for. I still feel we're one centre-half short. I haven't really got the quality I'd like up front, and we've not yet been able to replace Buchanan with a backup right winger. But if you look at the players we have got, it's definitely a case of quality over quantity. We've got young players in, we've got talented players in, and in the cases where we couldn't get both, we went for familiarity. I don't think we can argue. So with all of that done, let's have a look at where we're expected to finish, because this season going to be very different to the last one, I think. And there you go. Straight off the bat, we're expected to be 8th, nowhere near the relegation trouble. Dungannon, of course, came up, their favourites to go back down, but Carrick and Portadown expected below us. We're supposed to be in a fight with Crusaders, Ballymena, Glenavon and Cliftonville with that 5-team mid-table. But this year, rather than finish 7th, could we sneak into the top 6? That's a question for later on. We might have said on paper, we've got a bit of a contrasting start to the season, because we faced Linfield at home the first game, the champions, and then we faced Dungannon at home, the promoted relegation favourites, second up. But Linfield could be a blessing in disguise, and the reason is they are doing Northern Irish football proud again. Are they going into the Europa Conference, you ask? No, they're not. Linfield are going into at least the Europa League. Look at their record. They've won 3 qualifying ties in the Champions League. They beat Karabakh last time out. They're signing players. They're bringing money into the club. They're improving their facilities. They're managing the club brilliantly. And even if they lose to Apoel, they will drop into the Europa League group stages rather than the Europa Conference, which is what these guys and Lan have been in before. So a massive moment. Imagine they're getting a Champions League group. That's 5 coefficient points on its own, I think. So big progress from Linfield. Big effort from them, and they've still got a very good side, in fairness to them. A lot of the originals about, but some of those young players they've nicked from other clubs in the division are so good. I mean, Darren Mills at the back, looking like he's going to be the next star. They sold Albert Press to Southampton. I've noticed he's wanted by Premier League clubs there. If he moves on for millions and they've got a sell on, I mean, Linfield are going to be laughing, but I'm so pleased with how those two clubs are doing. They've both performed in Europe. None of the other clubs have made it this year, but they all won the first round of qualifying. So they're all adding a little bit to their coefficient, and of course in turn to the Northern Irish one. But that's something we can maybe focus on in a year or two if we can make it to Europe. At the moment, it's a chance for us to show how good we are. We're facing the champions, but they played 3 days ago and they've got another big game in 3 days. So hopefully they're focusing on that and not on this game today. And I would like them to be focusing on that as well, because it's a far bigger match for them. So we're going to go and get into our first game of the season. As you would expect, not much has changed on the tactical front, nor the dynamics front either. It does mean that the team cohesion's good going into a season. I'm not sure we've ever had that before. The top influencers, not too different to previously. We've got Daniel McGill as the skipper. He's staying another year. The model citizen is going nowhere. His football, though, might not be quite as frequent this time around. Let's go and get through to the fixtures. It's Distillery versus Linfield. Champions versus a side that want to get up there. 3,700, that would be a record attendance. So our record before was just under 3,000. That was Linfield bringing 2,500 fans to us. What I want to see from this game is, have we got more away fans coming, or have we got a bigger crowd of our own accord? Because that will help the rest of the year too. And that should help us build a positive balance sheet, because financially, we have been reliant on keeping our wage bill low. We won't need to do that if we're getting that many more fans in. Even if it's 1,000 every match day instead of 300, it's going to make a big difference over the year. Let's see what 11 we can put together. We've kept hold of all of our stars bar Buchanan, and that means we're going to be strong today. One centre-half short of the team I'd like, but very strong for a big Irish League season. And here is the side we've gone for today, which, as you can see, no changes to the mentality, the setup, anything like that. However, Curtis Bell has stayed. He's still improving. Had a good World Cup for the under-20s. Ethan Ross still going strong in goal. And the likes of Whitehall and Daniels, huge upgrades in midfield. I am so pleased with where we're at. I'm really looking forward to the season. But there is one slight problem today. Daniel Dobbin picked up the yellow card suspension in the final playoff game last season. So Daniel McGill will come in for him at right back. He's alongside Orkin and Williams at centre-half with Bell on the left. Ethan Ross, of course, behind them. Whitehall and Daniels, the new look, big upgrade in midfield. Loads of subs in that position now, ironically. Latifah, Scott, the wingers, with Coffey behind Muckle-Hatton. Leon Boyd now a substitute. Convey, Heaney, Jarvis, Crow, all regulars last season, sat on the bench for us now. Shay Lucas and Aidan McDowell join them. It is the strongest 18 we've ever had. Whether or not we've got enough to harm Linfield, I'm not quite sure. With their European exploits and their focus elsewhere, I'm hoping tonight we might be able to take advantage. Here it is then, a very strong team for Andy Waterworth's side. A lot of originals in there still. Joel Cooper, Cammy Palmer, big players at the club. A very strong side they've put out actually as well, which I'm a little bit concerned about with their midweek game. But let's just go and get through the dressing room. Let's go and tell the lads we've got nothing to lose. This is a game that's a free swing for us. Our season won't be defined by it, but last year we were quite good at nicking draws in games like this. I don't know whether we're going to be able to do it this time around. I don't know how many of these fans are going to be away fans in the stadium, but fingers crossed we can produce something. A lot of new faces to settle in. The spine of the team is very different. Fingers crossed that doesn't have much of an impact. I've got to say, that stand to the left there does look to be home fans largely, and it's a lot more than we'd normally have. So fingers crossed, that's a good omen. 4-4-2 for Linfield, they're going for it on the road. That is definitely more home fans than we're used to. Maybe the reputation is creeping up. We saw all those extra social media followers last time. Are they actually turning up to the games now? As Curtis Bell gets in on the left early doors. Gotta watch out for him. One more good season, he'll surely be off. As Coffey picks it up to Lewis Scott. He goes back to Bell. Options down the line, but plays into Daniels. Wide to Bell again. We're keeping the ball quite well here. Just waiting for a bit of magic from one of our new boys. As Bell comes down the left-hand side, will it be one of the existing players that does it? Not this time. Mills clears away. Only up to halfway. McGuckin down. Really good football there. You can see the benefit of two up front. There's always someone to knock it down to. We'll get there eventually. Long ball to McGuckin. Keepers come. Ethan Ross headed that, I think. He did enough in the end. It was poor from Cooper. Probably should have put the rebound on target. But Ethan Ross, it looked like he went for the little nod there. And at the moment, as a result of that, is still goalless. Following that, we've seen out a quiet 20 minutes, though we are back with Linfield in possession. They're looking for this long ball every time. McGill does well with it though. O'Neill gets in behind the second time around, and Ethan Ross does really well. Such a strong shot, it knocks him over, but he made the save first. That's all that matters. Linfield corner, how are we going to defend it? Kennedy's in swinger to the front post. Oh, it's headed in. Flicked on at the front post. It's the old classic routine. Flick on. Mills runs in at the back stick unmarked. And that's the problem. We've got them all set up marking across the box. And we just didn't have anyone marking the runner. Do we maybe have to drop to a cautious mentality here? Try and sit back, hit them on the counter. I wanted to be more aggressive with our better midfield now, but maybe this is the one game we couldn't. Though here is Whitehall, one of the new boys. Lovely ball to Muckle-Hatton. And against his former club, it's just over the bar. We almost get the goal, but it stays 1-0. And here we are with a free kick for Curtis Bell. On the left-hand side, just a couple of minutes to the break, and it is quietening down. You've got to say Linfield look like they're in control. but are they going to deliver the goods, or can we find an equaliser? Would be a great time to get one on a stroke at half time, as Orkin has the ball at the back, probably the weak link in this team now when our first 11's fit. His through ball to Coffee is not the best, and it's back to Vernon, the goalkeeper. They're playing out from the back here, Linfield. They seem to look confident, but are they going to get the second? It would be a hammer blow. And you saw us last year, we don't lose many games heavily. I don't really want to start that habit now. Well won by Daniels. Good aggressive play. Mukul-Hatton plays to Coffee. Wide to Latifa on the right. He's been quiet. It's a good ball in though. Mukul-Hatton down. How's he missed that? It looked like it hit him on the chest, but he had so much time. And now we've picked up an injury. And this is going to be a problem because I don't have the option to bring on a right back. We haven't got any left. I'm going to have to put Williams out there, which I really didn't want to do. And then we'll go back to last year's centre-half partnership. Orkin will be on the right-hand side as a stopper. McDowell will be on the left-hand side as a cover. And that's what we're going to stick with. It's not ideal. It's not what I wanted. But at half-time, we're going to be 1-0 down and we're going to have lost our skipper. Not an ideal start to the season, this. No shots on target, which pretty much suggests that Mukul-Hatton's one did just hit him on the chest. We've been unlucky, though. We're coming back into the game. Now, can we find an equaliser? Because our expected goals is not that far short. Though it's a corner kick for Linfield. This is where the first came. Good goalkeeping from Ethan Ross. Chance to play out from the back, though. Goes for a big one downfield. Latifa will chase, but he's never getting there. It's headed away to Cooper and McClelland. Into Wilson. Time in possession to Cammy Palmer, who's also picked up a knock. Surprised they're not just taking the cautious route with him. They've got a far bigger game on Tuesday. They might if they score a second. What is going on today? Ethan Ross, I don't think I've ever seen him head the ball before, and that's 2 in the space of 45 minutes. It was a lovely dive-in header, and again, it saved a goal. But it really is a bizarre one, as Mukul-Hatton's picked up a knock as well. Ethan Ross claims the corner, and we're going to have to be careful, because with McDowell's sub coming before the break, we've only got 2 sub breaks left, so with an hour on the clock, let's go and make a couple more. We will take off Mukul-Hatton for Leon Boyd. We'll take off Lewis Scott on a yellow and a poor performance for James Convey, and we'll leave the last 2 another 10 minutes. We know it's probably going to be centre midfielders. That's pretty much all we've got left. We're just under 20 to go. It is time for changes again. Sean Daniels will be replaced by Aaron Jarvis, I think, is the best option. Or I could go for Crow and be a bit more aggressive with Whitehall in that role there. And I'm also going to take off Barry Coffey for Killian Heaney. He's popped up with a few sub goals before. Let's see if he can find one today. Overall, though, we're competing with the best side in the league. I can't complain too much. And if it wasn't for set pieces, we'd probably be 0-0. Thankfully, we've got the easiest home game on paper next week. We've got to take advantage of that because Linfield are in again. And from set pieces again, they deliver. Maybe we've got to change the setup at this level. Maybe we've got to man mark a bit more. And hopefully that will make a difference. We'll set that up before the next game. For now, though, it is a 2-0 defeat to Linfield. The season opens against the champions, not in a way we would have liked. Big crowd, but then an injury, a defeat, and Linfield have got a bigger game in midweek. They've got their own problems too. Well, the match review here suggests that Daniel McGill has fractured ribs. That's not going to be a short injury. 4 to 5 weeks at a cost of $5,000. I know you're going to moan at me in the comments for this. I know there'll be a lot of jibes about me being tight, but 1 extra week, you can go to the physio, son. No worries about that. Whitehall is the new signing. All the other lads made debuts too. The quicker they settle in, the better. And of course, we were heavily beaten. What was the attendance? That's what I wanted to see. 3,740. That must be a new record at the club. I'm going to have a quick check. 3,740 today. Highest gate receipts, 53,000 today. That is a huge boost to the club. We just dipped back into the red financially, and now we're up to 40,000. Happy days indeed. A good start financially, but there's a few other bits we've got to get sorted. Let's go and have a look at the schedule for when we're next going to be back. I kind of feel that unless we get a big cup game, and we've got a good one in the First League Cup tie, I'm going to leave it all the way to Alarn and Cliftonville, because Cliftonville were a side who battered us in that semi-final of the Cup last year. They only snuck through in the end on penalties, but they battered us over the game. And Larne, of course, ran the champions close and have often been a thorn in our side. So if there's no big news coming for deadline day, those will be the 2 games we show. If you're looking forward to it and you did enjoy this start to the season, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know what you think of the new signings. I think once they settle in, they're going to be massive upgrades to this club. If we can get the set piece defending right, even these big games, we might draw 0-0. If you want to stay up to date and find out if we do, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. You can check out our channel update up in the eye above. I'll put it above my head now too. But thank you for joining for Season 6, and I'll see you again here next time.